Hello and welcome to the Creative Lotus Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Zaki.
It's repeatedly choosing yourself, and I know that that seems like a simple answer, but the hardest thing in my life has been to accept and choose myself, whether it's looking in the mirror and accepting the fact that, like, I'm beautiful and I don't need to change 1 ounce of me to have validation or to have work. And another thing is when you're in a career that has a lot to do with your exterior, but you do know you have a beautiful interior, it's showing that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Creative Lotus Podcast. On this week's episode, we have creative director, producer, actor, and model, Tayla Fernandez. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. It's literally the day after Memorial Day, so it is a holiday weekend, trying to come back into things. So I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with me. So let's just dive right on in. I always like to ask each guest kind of what's your background, where you're born and raised, and kind of what was your childhood like that ultimately kind of, got you into the creative field that you're in.
So I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, and my mom is British and Irish, and my dad's from the Cape Verdean Islands. So that was definitely an interesting household to grow up in. It started at the age of 12. I always grew up a dancer, and I was in theater, and I was doing a ton of things like that. And I heard on the radio, I was like, "Do you want to be a Disney star?" And obviously, I was the kid that was like, "Mom, you need to take me."
Yeah.
So it was at the Copley Hotel in Boston. It was an event called Pro Scout where you go and you walk around and you do a monologue and you show everybody your little comp card, and that's how you can get agencies.
Got it.
So I convinced my mom. She was like, "Taylor, we don't have, the money to be able to do that right now." And I was like, "I promise I'll pay you back." I don't know how a 12-year-old was going to pay her back, but she took me. And I ended up getting 14 callbacks from
Wow.
Japan, New York, all over the world. But my family wasn't fortunate enough to be able to not work. So I ended up signing in New York City, and I signed to BMG my freshman year of high school, and that's how I started.
Wow. Amazing. So was it, you talk about Disney and everything, and I feel like there are kind of still Disney stars, but like, I feel like I'm older. So like my generation was kind of like, you had Justin and Christina and Brittany, like, Mickey Mouse Club was kind of a big thing. Did it still kind of have that vibe of like a group of young people that are all like trying to make it in when you went to these auditions? Or was it kind of like, I don't know, dog eat dog? Like, I'm just curious kind of what was that environment like for you?
So I actually didn't get signed for acting. I only got signed for modeling because I was
Got
5'7"
it.
at 12. I was like the tallest kid in
Wow.
my class, and
Yeah.
they thought I was going to grow. And a funny story, they actually dropped me when I turned 17 because I never grew any taller than that.
What?
So yeah.
Wow.
And then I
Wow.
ended up, signing commercially in Boston and then figuring out a whole nother endeavor of life there. But no, it was when I first moved to LA though, and I started auditioning here for TV film, it still is all the kids, well, pre-COVID, it was still all the Disney kids in the room. They didn't go to school. Their parents were full-time stage moms. So that was
Yeah.
interesting for me to see when I moved from East Coast to West Coast because I don't know, you see it on TV, but you don't really think it's real. But every kid
Yeah.
I met was like, "Oh, I don't go to school. I'm just auditioning all day." And I was like, good parents.
That's so funny. You kind of answered my, or not answered, but kind of answered my next question, which was like, what ultimately brought you here to LA? And at what point, I guess, in your creative career, you started really young in high school, which is amazing. But like, yeah, at what point did you kind of move to the West Coast? And like, what was the deciding factor for you to come out here? I mean, obviously it's Hollywood, but was that kind of the reasoning for it?
I think it's one of those things that as a creative, you always want to just be a creative, but my family was always worried, financial stability, health insurance, all the things that, as a creative, we're like, whatever. But then when it
Right.
comes down to it, they're very important. So after I modeled professionally for about 4 years through high school, I went to college for biochemistry.
Hmm.
And I ended up studying in Boston for 4 years. I went to the school called Merrimack. And as I was there, I still had a full career in Boston modeling, and
Wow.
there was huge movies coming to town. So I worked with Jennifer Lawrence. I ended up meeting Kevin Hart and all of these people. And on one of the films that I worked for, it was called The Witch Files. We
Okay.
filmed it in Maine. There was a woman there whose daughter was one of the leads, and she was a manager. And this was the worst thing she could have said to me my senior year. But she said, "If you ever want to move to LA, I'll be your manager." So now I'm like, I'm not working in a hospital. I'm moving to LA. I'm one of those that
Wow.
if you say like two things, I'm like, I'm going. So she ended up saying, if you ever move here, I'll rep you. So I graduated college. I worked in Boston for one more year to save money. Then whoop,
Bounced.
I
Yeah.
just came here.
Wow.
Bounced
Was
the
that
best friend to come with me.
Oh, nice. That's great. Always having a good friend with you is
Yeah.
makes it so much easier. What was it like when you got
I
here
was like,
though?
I have one cousin that lives here. She lives in Manhattan Beach and she had a little guest house. And I was like, I'll give you whatever I have. Can I please stay in your guest house to see if I can like do LA? So
Mm.
I moved into her guest house with my best friend Courtney. I love you, but she lasted 1 month with me and then I was left here alone. But like you said, it was, yeah. Like you said, it's so culturally different. And it's one thing to, be working in the comfort of Boston where like the casting directors know you, the producers know you. Like I was an ethnic girl there coming to LA. I remember I went to one casting and I was like, I'm not original. Because
Yeah.
I was like, wow, there's a lot of girls with green eyes and brown hair out here. But in Boston, like I was a rarity, so I think that all of those challenges come at you at once. And then what I faced young was, do I need to be what LA is now that I'm in this big place? But
Mm.
overall, I've learned that like staying the grounded, goofy science weird girl from Boston is actually what's kept me here and kept me like maintaining these relationships and being able to have this career, switch careers, and do a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like being a creative, especially in LA, it is so easy to get kind of, well, and especially with social media now, right? It's like so easy to get swept away in what you think you need to be instead of just being authentically like the most authentic version of yourself, even if that is like the weird kid. But there's actually like more truth in that than, yeah, than anything else.
And now look at how I met you. And if the day that we were on set, if we all weren't the weird kids, we wouldn't have developed this relationship. Everyone on set wouldn't have had the time that we had. So I think it's just so important. And if I was to give anyone advice, it would be to just stay as close to who you are because especially when you're auditioning, that's the only thing that's going to make you different is how can I bring Tayla to this character? Because Tayla is the only thing that's going to be different than Samantha because you're just putting on different hats, but it's
Right.
still you.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I was just going to say, I always look back at, when I first got here, the auditions I was getting were 11-page series regulars for dream roles of mine, but I had
Wow.
no experience. I've done
Mm.
theater, I've done some small roles in Boston, but you get here and I felt like it's taken me this long to, work and study. And now when I go into an audition, I'm confident, but it's like you almost get in your head, like, did I burn all of those bridges for people that saw me when I wasn't ready? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. No, I mean that's amazing that you even had the opportunity from the start, right, to be able to do that. But like you said, it's kind of like
It's
without the
rare.
experience, yeah, it makes it almost difficult. It's kind of I got the same advice as a photographer. I was kind of like you really want the big commercial advertising job, but the reality is that if you don't know how to bid it, you don't know how to work it, and you don't know how to like produce it right on your own, then like you're almost kind of shooting yourself in the foot because then the client's never going to probably come back to you if you don't like execute it to like the T, you
Exactly.
know? So yeah, you
That's why I think timing is everything.
yes, 100%. You kind of tapped into this already, I think, which was, can you share some personal struggles about maybe when you first came to LA that you feel like actually helped you and propelled you to be a more successful creative and kind of advance in your career?
I'll just be very candid, but I think that when you don't really have a choice, like I couldn't, pick up the phone and be like, hi, I need rent, I need this. I think that it gives you a little bit of an edge because you don't really have a plan B. And once I didn't choose science and I chose this path, I knew it was going to come with a lot of different things. But one thing I really did struggle with was body image.
Mm,
Twice in my life, I've like had pretty bad bulimia. And
mm,
it's back before everything was acceptable and they accepted all bodies. I started modeling in 2007. If your hips
mm,
weren't a 35, they were telling you for them to be a 35. So you could be the most beautiful girl in the world, the most confident girl in the world, but at the end of the day, if you're trying to hit this requirement, you think that that is a part of your worth, which it took
right.
me, and that trickled into so many other aspects. It trickled into my relationship with men. I would accept less than I deserved because
Mm,
my brain was wrapped around like, okay, well, you're not enough yet because you're not this size, or you're not enough yet because you're not on a show. But I think that, like we said before, becoming somebody that you're proud of now you could put me in front of a panel of anybody and I would be able to talk about, my hardships, my struggle, how life hasn't been easy for me. And that's who made me have the character that I have today. So I think that every ounce of your struggle and, you know, I've been having panic attacks lately and I don't know where they've been coming from, but everything that you get through makes you stronger. And I think it just all equips you for your full testimony. Because if you look at anyone's story who's great at anything, it never has come easy.
Yeah.
So I just try to stay positive and stay motivated and realize that all the redirections led me here. And even now, it's like if you got all those commercial jobs that you wanted back then, you're grounded in who you are, and now you can make an impact with the client in all of those different ways, which I feel like are so much more important because I feel like we're all used as vessels to make a difference. And especially when you're acting, you need to be so solid in who you are before you're able to play someone else that, sometimes doesn't happen when you're 22.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So well said. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I think that, the basis of this podcast really came from this Buddhist concept. I'm Buddhist and practice Buddhism, but it's similar to kind of like you're saying, right? We all kind of have this purpose in this life, right? To help other people and to kind of like leave a lasting impression, if you will. But the lotus flower is unique in that it actually blooms and seeds at the same time. But the only way for it to bloom is all that muck or shit under the water, if you will. It actually leads to this gorgeous. What was that? Exactly.
Just a mock announcement blooming.
Yeah. Well, no.
That's
So
my impression of a lotus.
I love it. So that's really the kind of the purpose of the podcast is kind of saying like creatives are very much like the lotus, that like all the shit and muck underneath the struggle, if you will, right, that they have to go through ultimately leads to this beautiful lotus. So I always like to ask, what do you feel is kind of like your lotus moment that you kind of all the crap that you've had to go through has led you to this, kind of beautiful blooming life?
It's repeatedly choosing yourself. And I know that that seems like a simple answer, but the hardest thing in my life has been to accept and choose myself, whether it's looking in the mirror and accepting the fact that like I'm beautiful and I don't need to change 1 ounce of me to have, validation or to have work. And another thing is when you're in a career that has a lot to do with your exterior, but you do know you have a beautiful interior, it's showing that. And I think that half of my jobs come from my relationships. They don't come from, castings or agents, because I think it's how you make people feel. So overall, I would just say like everything that's made me question myself, every relationship that's made me play small, every, friendship that I've lost, even my family's doubted me at times. Even every doubt, it just fuels whatever is inside of your soul that is saying, no, you need to keep going because this is your path and your purpose. And I think that everything that is a negative eventually turns into a positive, know?
Yeah, absolutely. The struggle that you shared, and thank you for being so honest and open about it, but like as a young woman coming to LA and realizing that, modeling is very much, this kind of, it's kind of a nasty world. Like, let's be real. Let's keep it real. Like, I think that, it's beautiful to the outside, right? Cause you see, the glamour of it all. And I know there's been more kind of expose kind of stuff about it, but for you kind of, because you are this multi-hyphenate, you're a creative director, you're a producer, you're a model and an actress, like, how did you kind of delve deeper into that after having to go through so much kind of struggle of, body dysmorphia, I'm sure, and really kind of like trying to fit the standards and trying to be able to, make yourself into who you thought you needed to be, but then ultimately just said like, fuck it. Like, I'm going to be authentically who I am. And that is amazing and okay. And it's going to work best for me.
I think that because I did study very, very hard getting my degree, at a point, something in my brain switched and I was like, I have a brain and I can use it. So how in this city am I able to use my creation and use my brain without having to be like, am I pretty enough for you today? Because like, even my personality, like, it's just not who I am. Like, I'm a tomboy. I love to work out. I do so many other things that make me feel strong and valid that like, I just kind of got over it. I kind of got over waiting for a yes. So I started creative directing, and when I was on sets, I would tell people like, when people ask me what to do, I'm like, oh, I'm a creative director and a producer, and they're like, are you sure you're not on the other side of the camera? I'm like, nope. And then I've translated all the bad experiences that I've had as a model into how I produce my sets. You can say 2 words to someone when they walk in, like, oh my God, you're beautiful. I love your coat. And it switches the energy of the day into them having a little bit more self-confidence, or for them to feel a little bit, more comfortable with you, whether you're directing them behind the camera. And it's not hard to be nice. And I think that I work with a few creative agencies, and our goal is to make people want to come back, not because of how much we're paying them, even though we obviously love to pay everyone their rates. We want them to come back for the experience of feeling like people care. Because I think in this industry nowadays, you, me, anybody, AI, you can be replaced in 2 seconds and they have no regard for you. So we want to make people feel regarded. And it's even, I was on set of a music video that I was helping with a few weeks ago. The girl was in heels dancing for 4 hours. And I'm like, none of these men standing behind these directors' chairs are realizing, like, get the girl a chair. But I've done swimsuit shoots in New York in 40 degrees, and I've gotten hypothermia in Atlanta. So one thing I'm like, she needs a robe, she needs a chair, and someone asked her if she wants tea, because she's a person. And I think that as everyone's just going down their production list as checklists, they're viewing people and they treat people based off of their title. And no, that does not fly with me. And I hope that for the rest of my career and on any set that I'm ever on, that we're able to treat each individual like an equal, valid human, not, oh, well, they can wait their makeup. Oh, well, and I think that we see that a lot in this industry. And I think that unless, we're putting a change to it, it's not going to ever change.
Wow. Extremely well said. Love that. Hearts. Yeah, no, I think exactly that. You hit it right on the head, because, yeah, I also worked in production for like 5 years, and so I got to see kind of the other side of it. And to your point, right, if people don't respect the people that are on set, and you're only giving the person the respect of their title, right, you're not really fully understanding the human quality of this individual that you're working with, and like each of us has, a huge story to tell and has gone through so much. And so, yeah, giving them the respect that's due. Sorry, you were going to say something.
No, and I think that even if you're on a film set, from the lighting to the director to, that one piece of pencil from art department, like the entire nucleus is what makes Game of Thrones. Like, I don't remember, there was an episode where someone left like a Coke bottle or something, and like that was a big deal. So, but I think that everyone needs to realize how important every job is. And I think that the only way that we can, like you said, our purpose here, change the world is by leading by example. And sometimes, we get shy and we want to go into our shell. And there are days that like, I don't want to get out of bed, and I don't want to like continue to keep going and be strong and show up as a person that I know that I'm meant to be. But it's like finding, like, God got me here. So like, how dare I now sit, I'm from the inner city. Like, people don't even graduate high school from where I'm from. So it's crazy that I'm now able to see this side of the world and have a career in it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. It's your mission and your purpose. I'm curious, has there been kind of a greatest achievement that you feel like you really personally take pride in, but maybe you're not necessarily known for on social media, or kind of outwardly known for?
I did my first national commercial this year, which was really cool.
Yay, that's awesome.
And I have a movie coming out in October called Glowsies, where I play this really ditzy influencer type of girl and I got prosthetics and I got to turn into a zombie. So it's like, for me, when I did my campaign for TJ Maxx and it was on the biggest street in Boston, like I made it for me, because from where I come from, like, to be able to like put yourself out there and keep going and to get those opportunities. My first job I booked, I'm a very content person. I'm very driven. So until I'm Catwoman or something, I'm never going to be satisfied. But I don't know. I think that every little thing that you do, like Taco Bell with you, that was a success. We did that. But I think it's all because I love every aspect of it. Like, I love being able to be given a product and create an entire campaign around it. And I also love when I'm the muse. So anything that I'm able to express myself, and like I said, I'm able to do this full time. And I think as an artist, when you're able to do what you love full time, like, you just have to be grateful for every day.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's incredible, first and foremost, and congratulations. I mean, like, booking a national commercial and then also being in a film is like major. So, yeah, a lot of, like you said, right, coming from where you come from, a lot of people don't even get the opportunity. So the fact that you like rose to the occasion and fought all the way to get there is huge. What is like your inspiration? Because you're so involved in the creative process, right? As a creative director, you're kind of giving the shots and kind of going over how to create a campaign or whatever, a video, whatever the project may be, right? But then also in the front of the camera, you're the one that understands what it is to be talent and the person that's, performing. So what are the things that kind of inspire you that you love to surround yourself with, so you stay in that kind of creative mode, even maybe when you don't feel it yourself?
I'm a big fashion street style girl. So like
Mm,
anytime I'm outside and like someone walks by me in an outfit that inspires me, like a scarf could inspire me to go, want to shoot an entire campaign just because I saw this scarf, the way this girl had it underneath a hat. Like I'm very
mm,
visual. So even like for a few weeks ago, I got like all these crazy braids and it like brought out this whole different persona in me, which made me want to go, create a bunch of different content because
mm.
now I felt like I had a different personality on me. And I think as an artist or a creative, everything like meeting you inspired me. I go to this coffee shop every day and everyone always has the coolest outfits. So sometimes even just people watching or traveling and seeing colors. But I think it's one, what I realized, I used to always be like, well, like I'm gonna save that outfit or I'm gonna save this. But a lot of times when you're the person where it comes from very creatively, you think like, oh, well, I want to save that for something special. But sometimes you need to just wear it because
Hmm.
once you wear it, that's where more things can be inspired from. Like you never know, like if you wear a fly outfit that day, who you're gonna inspire that's gonna create something else. So it's like I used to always wait to wear clothes that I thought were cool for something, and now I'm like, you just got to be this every day. But that's something that took me a while to sit in.
Mm, yeah.
Just like fully showing up as how I wanted to express myself. I was always waiting to express myself the way that I
Yeah.
wanted to, which was so weird to me now that I think about it.
Yeah. I think everyone's kind of like that, right? I think that we have this idea in our head, and maybe it's just like an American concept. And as Americans, that's all we know. But it's kind of like if you go to other countries, right? Like you go to Europe and people are just like dressed to the nines, and it can literally be a Tuesday at like 2 p.m., right? And they're just like, you know, hello, like, hello world, this is what I am. And so I think, to your point, it's kind of like if you don't show up for yourself now, like we're not guaranteed tomorrow, like, reality
Exactly.
check, right? So, yeah, if you don't give yourself the opportunity to express yourself in an amazing outfit and feeling your best self at any moment, then yeah, it really is kind of like, what are you waiting for? This far distant future is not necessarily guaranteed or going to happen. So I love that you're
That was
you're
something
in
I
the
put into
moment.
my goals. I'm like, go like present yourself the way that you want to present yourself, and it's so important because then people see you in your authenticity. Like yeah, I'm sure we all go to the coffee shop in our nail salon looking crazy, but if you're actually in your style, it's how your people find you.
Right.
The amount of
Right.
times that people have been like your hat, I like your shirt, and then I'm like, now we're friends. But if I
Mm,
was not showing up as myself, then they would have missed me that day.
yeah.
So we're almost doing ourselves a disservice.
Yeah, 100%. LA is a very difficult city to be in the sense that although it's very like community based in the idea of it, because of the industry and stuff, it is also very difficult because a lot of people are very much kind of like in their own cliques and stuff. So I'd love to know, do you kind of have a group of people or a few people or a specific person that you really kind of have as like a hub of people that you're able to really be around and kind of are your crew or your girls or your guys or girls and guys that kind of keep you
Mhm.
feeling like you have this like sense of family, if you will, here in LA?
So I think I've been here for 6 years now, but I moved here with five girls from Boston. So after
Wow.
I moved, everyone started to trickle. And one of my best friends, Camille, she's a Sports Illustrated model. I have a
Wow.
friend, Grace, who's a casting director. Julie was a stylist. So it was like
Hmm.
we all came together and we were all in different endeavors, but we were like on the LA grind. But having people that felt like home was
Mm.
so crucial for me because Boston and
Yeah.
LA are so different that even culturally, like I could say a few things like an Italian sub, like you don't know what that is in LA, but it's like people from home just they
Yes.
get things that other people don't get. And
Yeah.
now I would say I have a beautiful roommate. Her name's Nicole, my friend Alyssa. And I think that like in a safe space where you live, just having people that understand you and that keep you grounded and like that you're allowed to say like, all right, well, today's a good day, today's a bad day.
Mm.
And my sister is like my rock. She's 13 years older than me, but people always ask if we're twins, and I
Mm.
would not be probably still in LA today if she wasn't able to like pick up the FaceTime 8 times a day. So I love you, Nicole.
Wow. That's amazing. I love that. Yeah, no, it's so funny because, although the coasts are, seemingly not that far apart. I mean, they are, they're thousands of miles apart, but like the culture itself is so definitive of like that of LA or Los Angeles and then that of Boston and like couldn't
New
be further
York.
apart from each other. Yeah, exactly.
I was so shocked at a lot of the foods that they don't have here. I was like, how do
Mm,
you not have that? You don't think about that kind of stuff, but then even grocery stores, like we don't have any of the same grocery stores.
really? Huh. Can you go
We
into
don't have
depth more on
Ralph's.
that? Like, what are the things, I guess, that like you miss the most about Boston that we don't have here in LA?
Okay, well, this was pre me finding out I had a gluten allergy when I used to eat everything in sight. But there's these things called three-way roast beefs, and it's like
Whoa.
I don't even know if you guys know what this. It's like cold cut roast beefs, and then it's like cheese and this like barbecue sauce on this like onion roll. You guys don't have
Oh.
those here. You don't have proper Chinese food, like crab
Mm,
rangoon and like lo mein. I don't know. I can't find that here. And
mhm.
then what else? Dunkin' Donuts, but like that was never really a big fan of that. I'm a Blue Bottle girl. They don't pay
Ah,
me, so
sponsored post. She's like, hey,
I'm
here
like,
we go.
hey, find me. Just kidding.
Uh,
But yeah, just certain things that were just so
mm,
different. And I think that the way it's like respect, another thing. Like Boston is like a very, I don't know, the way you're raised is very respectful. And like even at restaurants and things, the way that I would see people like talk to waiters, I'm like, my mom would, no, none of that.
yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Your mom would probably deck a person if they try to pull that. Yeah. No,
that's
I
me.
agree. Yeah, exactly. And I was at dinner last night with a friend and she's like family to me as well. And yeah, this guy was like so rude. I was over in Larchmont, which is, part of the city. It's like an expensive part of the city, if you will, and having dinner. And like, yeah, this dude literally just like shoved the waiter out of the way so he could like go to the back and like pick up his food. And my friend like kind of lost it and was like, she like literally like stopped talking and was like, what the hell? Like, why did you just do that? And the waiter was like super appreciative of her taking note of it, but he was like so just kind of numb to the fact that that's just how waiters are, that people are, or customers are. But yeah, I do feel like, yeah, there's a lot of it comes from a lack of respect, really, I
And
think, here in
arrogance
LA.
too, but that's why we have to be the change. And it starts from our simple days at work. I don't know. I feel
Yes.
like if you lead by example enough, like eventually people have to follow. They have to be like, wow, well, that's a good person. And hopefully it makes people want to be better people. But even you, like when I met you, you were such like a bright and shining light. I was like, what's your story? And then you were like, I have this podcast. And now I'm so happy that we get to be here.
Yes, exactly. I love it. Yeah. No, it's so true. I mean, like you really are like the cool thing about like the lotus flower, right? Is also that like when it blooms, it actually like it transforms the water around it so other flowers can bloom as well, right? It's like that photosynthesis. So like in the same regard to us as, creatives or human beings, it's kind of like you have the ability to spread positivity around you and transform the entire environment around you if you choose to do that. But vice versa, right? You can also be the negative person that literally completely transforms it in a negative way if you choose to do that. So to your point, it's kind of like, yeah, you can completely shift everything around you.
And I think the thing is like, by no way am I saying that I'm positive all the time. I'm definitely really hyper all the time, but but I think it's allowing, I've learned as I'm getting older to allow myself to have the bad days because the good days are going to come, you
Right.
know? And I think that a lot of people are like, oh, well, life's not working out right now. The amount of times that I've been broke, the amount of times that I've went like this and went like this and went like this and went like this, it's like, accept it. There's
Yeah.
only so far you can go and hit rock bottom until you gotta go up again.
Right.
In every sense of the way. Like I remember one time I gained 25 pounds. I had
Mm,
no money. I was bulimic. I wanted to
mm,
move back to Boston and I was like, you are in your 20s, you can bounce back. But it's,
mm.
when you have the extra weight on you, whether it's emotional baggage, whether it's physical weight, to take that one step, to go for that one jog, it feels like the world's crashing in on you. It feels
Yeah.
so difficult. But I think that the thing that people need to realize is if you don't stop, you're going to see the results. And that's why
Yeah.
people are like, Taylor, how are you in this position right now? And I'm like, fitness wise, I've been a professional dancer. I've lost it and I've gotten it back. But if you keep, ticking away at those boxes and you keep going after something, your body will change. And the same thing with a career, acting, something has to give eventually.
Mm.
So if you keep showing up, your resilience, I think, will open most doors that you want to just leave to like fate and luck, which I think has a big part of it as well, too.
Mm. Yeah. So question is, like to that point, really, like, do you feel like you are able to create the destiny or the future that you want? It sounds like you're kind of a religious woman in the sense of, you kind of mentioned God and everything. So how much of like faith as well as kind of, yeah, predetermining or kind of creating the destiny that you want, do you believe in, or kind of, yeah, spiritually, maybe what you believe in?
So I definitely would say like I'm a woman of God and I believe that like God instills our purpose in us. And there's like a few quotes in the Bible that say like rest assured, like
Hmm.
I have you. And that's kind of how I live my life. Like there's never been a period of like darkness or despair that I felt fully alone because of my faith. So I know that sometimes, we have to go through a season of pruning to, get a season of harvest. So
Yeah.
every single time I always kind of go back to the Bible and I go back to my faith and I look at, all the stories, and there's not one person in the Bible, including Jesus himself, that didn't have to go through hell to get to their promised land. So I'm not sitting here being like I compare my whole life to Bible characters, but it is a story, and those stories do help me when I'm in places where I feel like I don't know where to look.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
yeah, I
totally.
definitely would say that my faith and the conviction that I feel within myself, I know that I'm here for a reason and I know that I have purpose. And I think that the biggest thing that we need to realize is like sometimes it's not going to be when we want it. And that's been the hardest thing for me to accept, whether it's love, whether it's a role, whether it's success. It's the timing that is planned for it is better than what we could expect. Because if I got it at 23, you know, I wasn't, physically, mentally, or emotionally stable enough to be able to handle anything that comes with what I wanted. So I
Hmm.
think that every year as I become, more confident in who I am and, more grounded and all those other things, it just makes more sense to me that, a higher power's timing couldn't be more right.
Yeah. I totally get that. So I'm curious, you kind of already, pretty sure you've already said this, but maybe if there's another thing that you wanted to share, kind of, I always ask, when did you feel like you quote unquote made it? Or what has been a really great highlight of your career thus far that you feel like you really, really were working towards for a long time and then fully achieved that? And it kind of like, what kind of joy did that bring you?
I think being fully financially dependent on being a creative. And it didn't just
Mm,
come with one job. I didn't book a TV show and be like, I can stop working now because I'm on a TV show. But, being hired by a few creative agencies and having a steady income that way. And then I work as a fit model for Skims, which has been a huge blessing in my life. Working for a company like that, which, grew exponentially, and all the designers there have become my best friends. And one of them just came on vacation with me. And I think just having community and having jobs that I know have my back or support me as a human being and see my value, it didn't come in acting and modeling. It came in, fitting with design teams and being a creative director. So my financial freedom didn't necessarily come in the way that I thought it was going to by,
mm,
booking something big and doing all of those things. But I think stability within my career has allowed me to have more stability within myself. Because as a creative, you're always like, well, am I one job away from having to, go back into the medical field? And I think that fear creates blocks within you,
right.
which now that I've had some freedom, I don't think that I struggle with as much.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah, you nailed it right on the head. I completely agree. I'm curious, kind of what brings you the most happiness now versus when you were, just coming out to LA, or even like you said, when you were a teenager and just getting into the industry. Like, do you see the differences? What brings you joy then versus now? And kind of, yeah, if you could expand upon kind of what those differences may be.
Like when I was younger, any email that had like you're on hold for this, like I would be like, woo! Like I'd call everybody, I'd call my mom, like I
Yeah.
would do the most. And now I get an email, it could be for the biggest job in the world, and I'm like this, and I just exit it because having the I'm gonna be on this show or I'm gonna book this and then drop to the floor. You didn't get it. It's like after I don't know how many years, like 16 years I've been doing this, like it physically takes such a mental toll on you that like until this contract is signed, I don't even there's no excitement that happens anymore because
Mm,
it just like breaks you a little bit. And I think that after that happening for so many years, you kind of get hardened.
hmm.
So I would say now what brings me excitement is able to, like, I just got to hire six of my friends for a hair job that
Wow.
I did last week that I was the producer of. So now being able to like call my friends and be like, hey, can I pay you to come do this? Like, because I've been on the
That's so
receiving end of
cool.
it for so long, waiting for someone to pick me. It's just so cool that I'm able to, get them there, get them lunch, make sure they're comfortable, like give them product where I don't know. I think that as you get older, giving feels better than receiving, even though it's human nature and we all need to be abundant and receive. But being able to give people opportunities and see people smile and just enjoy themselves is where I'm at right now. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I think maturity really changes you. Look at us go.
Hashtag adulting. Yeah.
Hashtag adulting. We're
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Total growth. No, I totally get it as well. I think that, yeah, the ability to kind of, yeah, help others, in their creative process as well, and being able to support your friends as much as you can is like the greatest joy, because it's not just kind of like take, right? But the more you give, I feel like the more you give, actually, the more you actually do receive, in the sense of not only inner happiness, but like, yeah, the world definitely, like the universe responds to that, right? In the sense of kind of your ability to help others. So yeah,
And
that's
one of my
huge.
friends just wrote this amazing TV show during COVID.
Hmm.
And eventually I'm going to write a film. It's going to be a sci-fi film, and I'm going to play this character that is iconic that I can't say anything yet, but I'll tell you eventually. But she
Okay.
just wrote this film. I have so many, writer friends, director friends, and I'm so excited for her that I'm setting her up with meetings with, my whole network because I think
Mm,
that like the sun and the moon don't shine at the same time. Like it can be your year this year and it can be my year next year. But if you withhold, your connections and you withhold, well, I can't go give her this because it's going to take away from me. Like, I don't think that, that's the way to live. I think, like you said, the more you give, the more you get. And no one's ever going to be like, oh, Tayla put her on. She wasn't even thinking about herself. Like, people remember those things. And I don't know. I just think that seeing other people's light and seeing other people's value and embracing that and sometimes it's so hard for people to see that within themselves. And there's been so many beautiful people that have reminded me of mine. So anytime, one of my friends is doing something big, I just think it's so important to speak, positivity and success and light into people that you see that in because your two words could lead them into, creating the project that could be the next big thing.
yeah, exactly.
Do
Could
you
be
feel like
the,
that with what you do as well?
yeah, no, absolutely.
Do you feel that with like creation on your side? Because all of you guys with, the huge projects you do and even like photographers and it's so sometimes like hard to be like, well, getting an agent. It's the same thing on mostly every side of the creative spectrum, but do you have friends that you're able to be able to do that too as well?
Yeah, no, as absolutely. I think that so to your story of kind of having the women come out with you from Boston, right? For me, it was really this network of college friends. We all went to Brooks Institute up in Santa Barbara, and so then slowly kind of came down to LA, and so we have this community of friends, and all of us have kind of taken different roles in the photo world. The ability to support your friends in that way and give them the connections. Like my friend is actually the reason that we met was because of my friend Chelsea. Shout out to Chelsea, who is a photo rep, and she represents the photographer that was shooting that project that we connected on. But yeah, I mean, in that regard, it's kind of like as much as you're able to kind of support one another, and the more I'm able to, give someone a photo job or if that I can't do, or, if I need an assistant or digital tech or whatever it is, right? As much as you're able to network and support your friends, it like tenfold comes back to you. Absolutely. Because it doesn't, yeah, this whole community, or really kind of industry, if you will, of creative everything is so based on connection, and no one tells you that in school, like at all. Like it's kind of like,
I think that's something we need to highlight.
yeah,
Like in this podcast, it's like be somebody that people want to be around and work with again because that's what's going to get you somewhere. And I
yeah,
don't think that people realize how much your connections and who you are. Yeah, you can be great at your job, but there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be great at their jobs.
yeah,
You're in LA, and I think that that's something that I realized. It's like everyone here is beautiful. Everyone
right,
here is talented.
right,
Everyone here's mom's probably Cindy Crawford. So what's different? You got to be
yeah,
nice, you know? You
yeah,
got to be
yeah.
cool.
Exactly. I know. I love the memes that are out there that are like, girl, there's a lot of tens from where you come from in your town, but listen, you're probably like a five in LA. So what are you bringing to the table
Right.
outside of that? Because everyone's like at a 10 level here. So like you're talking about, it's kind of like, what the hell are you bringing that's extra? And yeah, being kind, being a great person, and having a personality that people want to be around for 12 plus hours or 10 hours or however long you're on set consistently, and showing up in that way is like, yeah, will get you so much further.
And I
So,
don't think people realize how not glamorous a lot of it is. Like if you're on
yes.
set, like even for our set, we were waiting, and on movie sets, you can be in full. I was in prosthetics of a zombie in the wind with dirt blowing in my mouth for hours, and you just sit
Mm,
there and you wait. And I think that, yeah, when you see the big picture, when you see people, when you see the final product, everyone's like, wow, but there's always a story behind a photo or a movie where everyone's like, no, that was the day from hell.
yeah.
And it's just how, regular people go to work to be an accountant. Like, I think that people from the outside of our industry see it so different, but like, it's just a normal day at work for us. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. Are you willing to go through hell in the trenches with someone on a daily basis as a creative in order to create the beautiful end product? Or are you not, and do you bitch and complain the entire way? Or do you come and say like, we're going to get through this together, and be like the motivation factor that everyone really needs to have on set, Yeah. 100% that.
And those are the moments where you realize like, all right, that person's coming back. I remember I did something and one of the directors said, I'll go through a war and a fire with you after today. Thank you for showing up. Because like what we went through was crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like to finish the product, it's like some days you're going to have to do things on any set that you're like, okay, I need to put in this extra inch for it to go the mile.
Yeah.
Even like digiteching and like working in, photography to make the client happy when you're,
Mm,
producing, it's not your creative freedom. And that's another thing
yeah.
that is difficult to let go when you're working for a company and you're hired, is as much as you want it to be your eye and your thoughts. It's
Yeah.
you're producing something for someone else's vision. That's
Right.
something I struggled with a little bit, but
Hmm.
getting better.
Yeah. Can you expand upon that? Actually, I'm curious because, as a photographer myself, it's kind of like you are executing the vision of someone like yourself, which is like a creative director and art director, or the combined duo. So, because you have both sides of the camera, if you will, as like the person who's either modeling or acting, and then also the person behind the scenes, like, but then there's also the client as well, right? Which they have their own crazy idea of what the heck they want. So kind of, how do you, I guess, bridge the gap for them and as like the creative director?
So for me, because I feel like the way my brain works is always out there, I'm always going to go the most extreme. But everything
Mm,
I've ever done, it's always been like, all right, we're going to scale it back. Like
yeah.
even for one of the clients that I just worked for, I was like, okay, like it's gonna be wet, we're gonna be edgy, it's gonna be moody, and they're like, it's gonna be clean, it's gonna be white, and it's gonna be fresh, and I'm like, okay. So I think that it's like, I think even when you and I just shot, we're like putting stuff in our mouth or doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
what were we calling it? Before you look with the lace.
Yeah.
I think
Exactly.
it's there's a place where we can express ourselves, and there's a time and a place where we just need to be by the books. And because I would say I've been professionally creative directing and producing for a year and a half, 2 years now, I'm
Mm,
learning more of, just starting with what they tell me rather than trying to
mm,
change their mind. And that's
right.
something that I had to learn because you think going into this, they're hiring you for your creative, which
Right.
you think in your head, they're hiring you because they want it to be different. And it's like, no,
Mm,
they're hiring you to do the job. So I think that
mm,
just realizing, read the room, if we're working with one client and you see their brand aesthetic and you see that it's this, they're probably not going to be open and willing to pivot directions in
right.
creative.
Yeah.
So I've just saved myself more time now by, sticking to the drawing board rather than being like, what can we do?
Mm,
But I don't know, I'm hoping to get some more clients that allow me to be a little bit more out there.
yeah.
So
Absolutely. No, that makes complete sense. I think, Yeah, I think it was Oprah. Of course, it's Oprah, who said something along the lines of, kind of like, stop trying to change people to be the way that you think that you want them to be, and rather accept them for who they are and what they like represent. And either you accept that or you move on from it, right? And I couldn't agree more. That's extremely paraphrased, but yeah, I mean, I think in that regard, right? Like similar with clients, you can't just expect them to do what you want them to do, and then if they don't, you get mad. But rather, like, it is a collaborative creative process, right? So like, what can I bring to them to like elevate the level of quality product, and final, production that they want, but not trying to completely like flip them on their head and say like, but you got to be upside down now. Otherwise, like, we can't do this. So yeah.
For sure. And I think that that quote you just said relates to every aspect of your life, like relationships, friendships. I've tried to hold on to things or change people or be like, well, I'm going to stay here and lead by example, and eventually they're going to change. It's like my hair will be gray. So
Yeah.
I think that lately I've been, leaving people where I found them. And if you don't want to meet me here, then you can stay here. But before I used to be like, I'm going to go down there and hang out. And then it's like, no.
Mhm.
Because, and I think that when you demand a certain level of respect or quality or anything, especially like dating in Los Angeles,
Mhm.
it's very, it's so easy to want to bring yourself back down. But I think that
Yeah.
like the power, you can feel it. It might be lonely up here, but wait for someone to come meet you here rather than, bring yourself to a level that you know that you either deserve better or we need to be inspired as creatives. But
Yeah.
I need to be inspired about someone's character. So I think that's something that it just pickled off of what you said, and it's great. I love it.
Yeah. No, I mean, you are just dropping the wisdom today, because it is, you have to be
This is
willing
my first
to.
podcast.
I love it. You're killing it. But no, it's like, yeah, it is probably going to be lonely up there, right? I mean, I think even Beyonce and Jay-Z and like all these huge superstars, right, have said that it's kind of like, you want to go to the top of the mountain, right? You want to be at your highest peak, but it is really lonely because a lot of people are not going to go on that journey with you, or cannot go on that journey with you, right? So the willingness to wait it out at times and be able to, stick out and just kind of be the one by yourself with the flag and keep on waving it as you wait for others to kind of rise up with you, is like probably part of the hardest part of the journey. But knowing that like the right people are going to be the ones that are around you at that moment when you're at that level, because
I
yeah,
would say
like you
that's
said,
my
don't.
biggest struggle right now
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
like like wanting to go back to old patterns or wanting to go back to old relationships or friendships or this
Yeah.
because like it's lonely. And
Hmm.
I think that a lot of people need to hear like that sometimes your career could be going great and you could be feel so lonely inside. And I think that accepting that be lonely now. And that's why I've started, to go to church and I've built a community there because I'm like, at least I know that these people have the same morals. They're working towards the same values as me rather than going to the club or going to be around
Yeah.
people that, aren't going to bring me where eventually I want to be. And I think regardless of everything, it's whether there's no one to come with you to keep you that company, it's holding yourself accountable, which is I feel like over the last few years is something that I've really, really tried to work on is being like, I don't care if you're alone. I don't care if you're going to sit here and cry. Like you're not going to accept less than you deserve, especially with
Mm.
respect.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge. I mean, the fact that you are standing up for yourself and really ensuring, right, that like, even though in the loneliness, it can be painful and difficult, but like, no matter what, like, I'm going to keep moving forward no matter what, and like, I love that you said that you have this community that you've built, in faith, because those people, like you said, are on the same path as you, and are kind of wanting to work towards the things that you want in your own life, and from that, everyone else kind of will come around or they'll go, bye.
And I think
They.
I think that's with any religion. Like the root of all religion is love and to be a good person. So as long as
Mm,
you are following something that, like you, for example, like you're Buddhist, we're two separate religions, but every day you're working on becoming a better version of yourself. And you're
right.
here and you're looking for the beautiful lotus within, each person that you're speaking to. And everyone comes from a different walk of life, but it's being able to put your foot forward and knowing that you're trying to do what's best. Whereas I feel like a lot of people aren't. I'm not going to talk for anybody, but I just choose to be around people that are trying to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah. Girl, drop the mic. She said, I'm out. Peace. That was so good. You better get it. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So kind of on the same ball, if you will, talking about work and everything, being a creative is not easy by any means, as we've already talked about. And so I'm curious, kind of like, what is your work ethic like? And also, what is the day in the life like for you? Because you're, once again, are this multi-hyphenate, like, what do you do kind of on a day to weekly basis? Is there kind of a pattern or routine, or is it kind of like every day is a new day and who knows what the hell's going to happen today?
So I'm a basket case if I don't feel good. Like I
Got
literally
it.
will be at the doctor's every week because for me, if I don't feel mentally healthy and physically healthy, like I can't go to work because and I do a ton of fitness modeling. So, and especially at Skims, like I'm fitting clothes all day. If I don't feel good about myself, not even like in a superficial way, just in a health way. Like if I don't have energy, if my body doesn't
Yeah.
feel strong, then I can't perform at the level that I want to perform.
Right.
So I would say that nutrition and fitness is what keeps, and I'm actually addicted to coffee. Like it's severely a problem. If you know me, you know that it's a severe problem. So this is my toxic trait, but we're working on it as it's in my hand.
Love it. Love it.
But I would say I'm a huge, I love to do Pilates and boxing, and I
Okay.
just try to feed my body as if I love it. So yeah, the routine is definitely working out and proper nutrition. And
Amazing.
I'm very
Yeah.
close to my family. My dad's 80 years old, I have nieces and nephews, and where I get my refuel is going home. Because once I
Mm,
get there, I get so inspired by the people that I love. Because I just feel like my dad is like, and my mom, and my sister, and my brother, and my niece, and my nephew, they just support me so much now. And
mm,
my family has gone through a lot of ups and downs, and people have struggled with addiction and just very difficult things my whole life. So everyone, thank the Lord above, is healthy right now. So having
mm,
a family unit that I feel like has been wavered my whole life and having everyone be intact, it's I'm sacrificing so much by being 3,000 miles away that I go home, I get my dose of love, and then I come back and I allow that to fuel me into
mm.
everything that I need to propel myself because I don't get to be with my 80-year-old father. So how dare I not work my butt off here? That's the main thing that fuels me.
Wow. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, family is so, for so many people, myself included, are so crucial. And so, yeah, really appreciating the time that you have with those people, even if it is just a small, like you said, like a dose of it before you have to go back to your crazy grind of reality. But yeah, yeah, I can't take anything for granted and appreciate every single moment of it because, yeah, it's so crucial and empowering, really.
I was just gonna say, I think the hardest part of being a creative is like no one wakes up and tells you to do anything. So if you're not on it,
Listen, woo,
you don't have a
serious.
career. So like even on the days where I'm just like 2 weeks ago, I had a really hard time. And I was like, I physically, like, I don't want to get up. I don't want to continue to fight for myself every day. And yes, I have agents and managers, but you pay them 10% because they work 10%. The other 90 is up to you. It's your relationships, it's your body, it's your materials. Are you, spending time doing all the things you need? And I think that's the scariest part about being an independent contractor is if you don't do it, no one's going to do it. So I think that being in the back of your head is I'm not working crazy, nothing is a guarantee. So
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how much you're your own motivator when you do what we do.
Yeah. No, I mean, more, she's just dropping all the facts and all the wisdom because that is,
I'm like, it's crazy because I sit here and I'm like, well, I'm thinking about all the things I have to do when I hang up with you, and I'm like,
I know.
to the races.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's that work ethic, though. I think that's literally it, right? Is no one's going to do the shit for you. So you have to do it yourself. And if you want to succeed at it, then you have to continually do that over and over and over again and want to do it, even when you don't want to do it, like having the drive. But to the flip side of that, my question, I guess this question to you would be kind of, what do you do for yourself in order to, other than seeing family and going across the country, but rather like to ensure that your own mental health is there and like even physical health is there when you need a break, and you feel like I can't really like keep going at this pace or keep doing this thing, the daily grind.
So I go to church. Like on Sunday, I go to a porterhouse church on right near my house. And I think that by listening to the word of God for me, it takes the pressure off myself because it allows me to know, I don't know, when you're in that environment, it's like nobody has it figured out. And, God has it figured out. So you can take a seat and you can relax and you can put your trust and your faith in him and you don't have to carry all of this yourself. And I think, like I told you before, having, that faith and having a community of people that I can lean on too. There are weeks where I'm so unmotivated, I don't want to do anything. And I'll be like, hi, me and my best friend, we just got pizza, wine, and we saw The Little Mermaid. And I was like, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm watching The Little Mermaid. I'm going to eat this entire box of cookies and I'm not thinking about anything. And I think that sometimes self-care is doing nothing. And you have to be okay with doing nothing. And you have to be okay with accepting the ebbs and flows, especially. I have so many beautiful friends that are so successful. And to sit there and not compare yourself to, oh, well, they just got a $50,000 job. Well, she just got a $25,000 brand deal. And I have nothing this week. You have to accept that you're nothing this week. You don't know what it could be next week. It could be the biggest blessing of your life. So accepting that no right now isn't going to be no forever, but also just being okay with the lulls, because there's not one creative. I don't care who you are. You could be Zendaya. You've had a lull. So just trusting that maybe it's just for rest, or maybe your body can't handle that today. And your body will tell you mentally and emotionally and physically when you need to chill. So sometimes it's a little blessing too.
Yes. Well said. I love that. What's one thing that you've learned about yourself working in this industry that you didn't know prior to doing so? And I mean, like you said, you've been doing it for quite some time. So maybe, I don't know if there's one specific thing, but
That's kind of funny. Well, I didn't know that I had like good hands, which is weird, but I was well, that's how I met you.
exactly.
Was
Yeah.
doing a good Just mic drop. I'm a hand model. Just kidding. But
Yes.
I was doing a like regular job, and one day my agent was like, "Can you send me a picture of your hands?" And I was like, "Weirdo." And then I sent a picture of my hands, and then I booked my first hand modeling job. And I think that when you're in an industry as weird as we're in, I have a full career as a hand model. Like I didn't even know that like you could do that or have good hands, but that's something that I learned about myself that has been very lucrative, and I would not have known Alan if it wasn't for these. So
There we go.
that's cool.
Yes. Yes. I love that.
But
That's
more on like not the external situation. I didn't realize I was as resilient as I am. I think that that's something that I've realized throughout the years. It's just being able to continuously being knocked down and picking myself back up. Like sometimes I'm like, wow, I'm impressed with how much fuel I still got left in the tank after I felt like the tank's just been empty and the gas has been just on the highway for years. And it's like, wow, I still have momentum and I still have hope and I still have drive. And I don't know, I think that a big aspect of it is up to what you have around you and the people that support you and believe in you and everything. But you, at some point, we do have to give ourselves credit as well. And it's taken me this long to be able to sit here and be like, no, I'm proud of myself and I work my butt off. Because before I would, be meek and be like, no, I don't know. And now I'm like, no, you have to be your own biggest cheerleader.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Yeah, it's so true. The resilience to keep on going is definitely there. And to that point, I'm curious, you said you've been in here. Yeah, you've been in this box for a long time now. You've been in LA for a few years now. So I'm curious, kind of going through COVID, obviously everyone had their own kind of story and issues and everything, but I'm curious kind of what kept you going through that. This podcast was actually born during COVID because of the pandemic. So I always like to ask, what was the the thing that got you through it. And now we're almost midway through 2023 and soon to be into the next year, which is crazy. But yeah, just curious kind of what got you through it as a creative.
So for me, I've only spoke about like this my entertainment career, but I've had jobs since I've been 14. I worked in sub shops. I worked at Texas Roadhouse. I was a bartender. I taught fitness classes. I worked at Pfizer. Like I have done so many things that I feel like COVID was the first time that I was actually able to sit down. Like genuinely not have every ounce of my day filled. So there was two ways it went for me. One way, it gave me crazy anxiety that I've never experienced before because I didn't know how to handle myself without being preoccupied. So many emotional things came up. Like I had to work through, feelings of inadequacy, feeling like restructuring of my career, restructuring of my identity because I finally had time to be alone with myself. So the process of being able to, work through all of those things with downtime was absolutely amazing for me. I feel like it really transformed me in so many ways, as well as being able to be with my family. So COVID was a plus for me because I went home. I was still paying LA rent, which
Got it.
was crazy,
Oof.
but I was able to spend so much time with my family. And again, off of relationships, I spent it in Boston, and there was people shooting with three people. There'd be a model, photographer, and a makeup artist, and that'd be the crew. And using all the relationships that I built since I was a kid, I was able to still work a little bit.
Wow.
Just again, based off people being like, well, Tayla's here and we want to, send her a lifeline during this time. So those were definitely some positives, but the industry just changed. It got so much more competitive. We got back to LA, nobody is in office for castings anymore. And for me, I do better in person because of just my personality. Me having to put up a self-tape and exude who you are is a lot more difficult for me personally. I know you get more tries, but then to meet someone and be like, "Hi," and being able to show them who you are. So I think that was definitely pros and cons, but a lot of self-reflection and being able to figure out, who am I without a schedule? Who am I without accomplishments? Who am I without, working to get a degree and accepting yourself as who you are without needing to validate yourself with what you've accomplished or what you want to accomplish, I think was really the biggest thing I took out of it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's huge. I think that, yeah, the ability to kind of take the time to find yourself and figure out who you are authentically and also have that time with family is amazing. And yeah, you kind of turned this, as we talk about in Buddhism, like turning poison into medicine, right? It's like this horrible situation that's going around, but like, I'm not going to be defeated by it and like come back up and completely turn it into
What made
something
you start the
beautiful.
podcast during that time?
Yeah, so I was really, I mean, everyone was kind of going through it, right? Because we were very isolated, but I realized that, majority of my friends who are all creatives for the most part lost work, right? I mean, a lot of people lost work, not everyone, a lot of people did. Through that shitty situation, like the ability to take a shitty situation and still stay creative and still keep moving forward no matter what, whether that was like doing personal projects or coming up with new concepts of how to like stay safe, health wise, but then also still be able to do the work that you want to do. And that was kind of the synthesis of it was based kind of, like I said, this lotus flower concept that it's like, I'm not going to be defeated. I'm going to be determined to like still bloom in the middle of this muck or this shit that's going on around the world and like keep moving forward with my career. And so, yeah, I was like, I literally just sat down in front of my computer and like turned on it wasn't this mic, but it was turned on a mic and just pressed record. And so the first 2 seasons were audio only. And I just started doing interviews with friends, and talking to them during COVID. I mean, we shot the first season was in 2021. And so, yeah, it's been kind of a ever growing thing since. And now we're on here.
It's so great. And I think that it's amazing that you have people from, so many different walks of life and so many different areas of creation because it's just an outlet for people to be able to hear people's stories of, how they got there and what their challenges are and so many other things that without people like you doing podcasts like this is going to be cool for me because no one knows me. None of my followers. I don't talk on my Instagram. I don't really have time to be like, hey guys, good morning. And I wish I could. And I feel like no one even on my Instagram knows my personality. So when you asked me to do this, I was so excited to be able to send a link to someone to be like, you can go get to know me right there. And hopefully I'll be able to talk to you guys soon. But it's cool
Awesome.
because I feel like so many people have so many questions, and this is just a great way for them to find answers.
Yeah, 100%. So, well, who's been kind of your biggest support or fan that's kind of really kept you going through your career and ensuring that you kind of keep going no matter what?
So I met my manager serendipitously. We were at another
Mm.
mutual friend's premiere, and she was showing this video of herself dancing at a Clippers game, and I was like, "That lady's fun." I was like, "What is that video?" And we just started following each other on Instagram, and then this wasn't the manager that I moved here. This was a different lady, and then one day she messaged me and she was like, "Hey, like who reps you?" And at the time, I was in between situations, and we
Hmm.
met. And from that moment, she has guided me and she's supported me, and we've gone through hell and back together. But knowing that she's never given up on me, and like I said, when you're green in this industry, like the correct headshots, the correct acting classes, the correct coaching, like you need someone that has had success and that has guided people in their careers. And I feel like she's always just been in my corner and guiding me and saying, Taylor, like it could not be right now, but trust. And we also share the same faith too. So when
Mm.
we are going through difficult times, there's a group of girls that she all manages that we're just able to be there for each other. And like you said, whether it's one person, five people, your family, knowing that someone else believes in you, sometimes it's like all you really need.
Yes, 100%. I love that.
Her name is
Uh,
Marissa. Love you. I was just giving her a shout out.
yes, love it. Love it. So I only have a few more questions here. Just curious, kind of what are some goals that you have set for yourself for maybe like the next 3 to 5 or even 10 years from now in all the endeavors that you kind of are going after?
Like dream 5-year plan, I would love to book a franchise like the Hunger Games or, you know, a Vampire Diaries situation. I'd love to be on a show or, something that is able to build a world that we continue. That's definitely number one. Obviously, I love commercials. I love print. So just being able to tick off some commercials and campaigns of dream clients would be something else. And
Hmm.
then I kind of want to bridge the gap between, mid normal size models and high fashion because I
Mm.
know that, if you gave me the right styling, hair, and makeup, like I could shoot a Burberry Gucci campaign, but I think that even though everyone wants to say everything is inclusive now, it's not. There
Mhm.
is still difficult area for me as a 4'6" because I'm not super small and I'm not plus. So I just want to continuously, find people that will push those molds with me and just to be able to break all boundaries. I don't think that we should be put in any boxes nowadays. So, and then again, just on like the creative direction side of things, working with some edgy, cool brands that I'm able to really get weird with.
Yeah, I love that.
And I want to write that script I was telling you about
Yes. Yeah. Script it, write it, produce it, make it happen. I love that. Yeah.
based off of
Um,
Greek mythology.
oh, very cool. I love it. I remember
Yeah.
learning about the Greek gods and all of the history and stories of that when I was a young kid because I went to a Waldorf school,
It's
so it was
so
very much
cool.
about yeah the history. So I look forward to seeing
I
what you
love all
produce. I know you
history.
will. I feel like because you kind of bridge the gap between both sides, and talking about wanting to be more inclusive, I feel like as a creative director, you also have that kind of not even responsibility so much as like the opportunity to bridge the gap, right? When you do the castings or you're working with clients and wanting to see more, quote unquote normal size women or women that are not like super rail thin and also not, plus, but like women, and
Mhm.
representing them in campaigns, I think is crucial. And you fortunately have the opportunity to kind of do that.
Yeah, that's been really cool. On the last thing we just did, the diversity was amazing, and it was hair texture. So to be able to, go all the way through the spectrum, and it didn't matter what people's bodies looked like. It was about your hair. And again, for me, I struggle with how I identify ethnically, so that's always been an
Mm,
issue for me. So I think that just seeing someone for who they are in all aspects of their beauty without having to put, well, is she this? Is she this? Is she this? Is she this? Just seeing that is, what she encompasses and that is the energy she brings and we just want her. That's kind of how I want to be viewed. I want I don't care how tall I am. I don't care what size I am. Like, you want Tayla because you're going to get something out of Tayla. And I think that that is what will feel powerful for me if that's something that I can accomplish.
That's beautiful. I love that. I'm curious, kind of, what would you say to your future self 15 years from now? Almost like a message in a bottle, whether that's a congratulations or keep doing what you're doing, whatever it is, but a future version of yourself, you were to give yourself a note that you could then open 15 years from now.
You have good questions.
Thanks.
I would say, aren't you happy that you didn't give up? I don't know where we're standing, but we're standing somewhere in a place that if I opened it and I read, aren't you happy that you never gave up? It's going to be like, I don't know where I am, but it's just in those moments. Because if I took one turn back to Boston, I wouldn't even be here. And here is so great for me that I can't imagine where 5-10 years is going to be. Because I don't know. I think like you said before, with creatives and resilience and trusting the process, that the doors will open. And that's what I believe. I could be delusional, but I think delusional is working for me. So I'm keeping it.
I love it. I love it. Keeping the delusional going. I feel you. I'm right there with you. It's so good. What's one motto or phrase that you live by that's kind of your go-to phrase that you feel really kind of you embody or that you work to embody?
I think protection is redirection is something that keeps me going. And my sister always says, if only for today. And I think that protection is redirection. Anytime I've been like, I want this, I know this is meant for me, it has shown me within my life, the way it's panned out, that if I got it then, no, I was being protected from getting it then. And I think that that's what keeps me going, whether it's in love, whether it's in career, anything that I want. And then if only for today, it's made me cherish, this conversation with you. It's made me cherish, that one job or that one experience, because we don't know if tomorrow's promised. So if I can be present and be happy, if only for today, and you live every day by that, like, there's only how many more hours left in today? If only for today, like, then it's only for tomorrow. So I think that it's just a way to really, truly be present and just be grateful for small moments. Because if you look back at how many moments that were fleeting that you didn't realize were fleeting, there's so many I wish I was more present for. So those two things definitely.
Yeah. Perfection. I love it. That kind of wraps it up. I would love to know if people would like to follow you as well as see any of the work that you're doing and follow along on your journey. Where can they find you online?
I'm really bad at TikTok. I should be better, but I'm not. So you can find me on Instagram. It's just my full name at Tayla Fernandez. And yeah, the movie that is coming out in October. I don't have much information on it yet, but I'm sure I'll post it when I do.
Fantastic. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Everyone, give it up for Tayla Fernandez, and we look forward to seeing everything that you have coming out soon. Thank you again for joining us. And yes, I will see you soon.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching and listening to this week's episode, and a huge thank you to Tayla Fernandez for all of her time and amazing stories. This week's Buddhist quote of the week is, "We should never decide that something is impossible and buy into the belief, I'll never be able to do that. The power of the entire universe is inherent in our lives. When we firmly decide, I can do it, we can break through the walls of self-imposed limitations," by Daisaku Ikeda. Thank you for watching and listening to this week's episode. Go ahead and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It surely does help out. If you're watching here on YouTube, give us that big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. Check out this full video for the entire episode. And until that video, I will see you then. Bye-bye. What is up, Creative Lotus family? Thank you so much for supporting the Creative Lotus Podcast. Go ahead and follow us on social media. On Facebook, we're at the Creative Lotus Podcast. Here on YouTube, maybe you're watching, we're at the Creative Lotus Podcast as well. And on Instagram, we're at the Creative Lotus Pod. And my personal handle is at Alan Zaki. We say thank you once again. Go ahead and subscribe, listen, write a review. And until the next episode, we'll see you there. Have a wonderful day and stay safe. Bye-bye.